Good evening, everybody. My name is Golden Microphone, and you're listening to Oatstralia On Air Live. This is FanFiction Friday with yours truly. It's been a roller coaster week for myself, though enough about myself. We have ourselves, well, an apology to give. I do say that I am very sorry that this show was delayed as such. However, some really good things came out of this, actually. I personally was off on a date. That's actually a little bit strange to say, I must admit, that I was on a date with the most lovely of persons, as well as their mother. Let's say it was a fairly good evening, a very good evening as a matter of fact. I got to meet her mother mother got to meet me, everything was wonderful. And I think I made a good impression. I didn't slip up, I didn't stutter too much, I didn't make a fool of myself much, but that's just me, of course. I apologize to my listeners, but, well, good things happened tonight. And in the morning, I move house. Yes, that's right, I'm moving from this place, which I've called home for the last 5-6 months. And it's been slowly becoming quite the nice home, but now I have to pack up everything and move along. It's out of necessity, as the building itself is going to be demolished. But, oh well, que sera sera, as they say. Tonight, we've got ourselves a interesting show. We've got the two fictions that you guys voted for. As far as I can tell, we got ourselves Vinyl and Octavia University Days, which is turning out to be a great fic. Thank you guys for letting it stay. I am having a ball reading this blind on air. In case any of you who are new here, in case you didn't know, I read most of these stories blind. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to read this. And we still have Of Age. Last time leaving off with Spike, trying to find the Cutie Mark Crusaders after they've gone after Rarity into the Everfree Forest. Not good. Not good. Oh, I do love this story, and I hope you guys keep wanting it to be read out every week, because I love reading it. I loved it when it first came out, and I love rereading it to you now. Let's get this fireplace out of the way. Oh yes, and the other piece of news. The Pozible campaign for Ponified, the OC trading card game. Bless. Sorry about that. Bit dusty in here. But yes, the Ponified Pozible has finally gone live. That's right, the Pozible campaign is live and ready to take your money. I will be giving you that link in the description below for you who are listening on YouTube later, but for you in the chat right now, you're probably going to have to wait just a few seconds, as this is a little bit unorganized, as per usual. There we go, in just a few seconds we should be able to get you... Dabba-dabba-dabba-doo, pop. Yes, here we go, now the chat is finally live. Here we go. Ah yes, terribly sorry Meerkat, I did in fact explode for a second there. Oh well. Now, I'll get you guys the Ponified link. I'm putting it into the social stream because I can't put it in chat for some reason. There we go. Head on over to the social stream and give all your money. Later on in the show, I've actually been given an advertisement to play out for you guys. For now, though, we take a sit back, we relax. And if you pop over to the chat, you'll see the link for the first story coming up, Chapter 4 of Vinyl and Octavia, University Days. Once again, over to the social stream, or once again, you on YouTube, the description below. Follow along if you want. Chapter 4, Vinyl and Octavia, University Days. You know, I've never been to this cinema before, remarked Octavia. The lobby was large, but still held the atmosphere of a small business. Cozy and warm, lacking the cold commercialism of most theatre chains. It was a delightful discovery, and she couldn't be happier about it. Duh, this is affordable, giggled the DJ, flirting 2 boxes of popcorn above them. The cellist shoved her playfully. You know I was joking when I said you have to pay, right? It's only fair that I take care of the tickets since you got the food. For a moment, Vinyl felt the urge to insist on paying for her friend, until a mint green unicorn's comment from their last tutorial swam to the forefront of her mind. Sure, I guess it makes sense, she replied, feeling somewhat cheap. Octavia just smiled and trotted up to the counter. 2 tickets to... Vinyl, what are we seeing? Oh. The unicorn quickly glanced at the displayed titles. Flank Explosions 3. Her answer was greeted with a flat stare. What? It's directed by Cleveland Bay. He's always good for a laugh. Sighing, the grey mare turned back to the bored-looking cashier. 2 tickets to... that, please. Now armed with a couple of little pieces of paper, the pair made their way past the ticket checker and into a short, dark hallway. After emerging into the decently sized theatre, they quickly climbed the stairs and claimed 2 seats in the middle of the back row. Since there were barely any other ponies nearby, Octavia took the opportunity to pose a few simple queries to her popcorn-guzzling friend. Flank explosions? Really? Vinyl coughed a piece of popped corn forward a few rows and painfully swallowed the rest so she could answer. Ow! You got something against exploding flanks? I have something against bad movies. You haven't even seen it yet. Don't judge a book by its flank. The cellist giggled at that and delicately ate a single piece of her own popcorn. That sentence trailed off a bit at the end. Yeah, it got away from me. Anyway, don't judge it till you watch it. It's hard not to judge when it has a name like that. Vinyl closed her eyes and rubbed her temples. Open your mind, little one. I'm only a couple of months younger than you. Shh, the movie's starting. And so began 154 minutes of violence and improper camera angles. In the midst of a particularly loud action scene, as unicorns riding Pegasus ponies raked the ground with spellfire and a giant robotic Luna tried to buck Cantaloupe off its mountain perch, Octavia glanced at her company. The reflection played over her blue hair, making the light streaks glow and enriching dark strands with deep color. Her eyes were still hidden behind purple glasses, but it was easy to tell that they were wide open, eagerly absorbing the sensorial bombardment. A thunder crack made the cellist jump, and the look towards the screen revealed that the monstrous princess of the night had erupted into a mess of scrap metal and fire. The dirt and grime-splattered soldiers cheered triumphantly, and Vinyl punched the air with one hoof as the others shoved more popcorn into her mouth. The grey pony couldn't help but giggle at the DJ's enthusiasm. Vinyl noticed and tossed her a grin, thinking she was enjoying the movie just as much. I told you it'd be a laugh, she said, leaning closer to be heard. Oh, I'm certainly laughing, replied Octavia as she suppressed the urge to mention that it wasn't the explosions that were tickling her funny bone. Later, in the penultimate romance scene between dashing star and stunning beauty on the wreckage-littered slope of a volcano, the cellist noticed that much of Vinyl's previous energy had dissipated, and she now lay across 2 seats with her head resting upon Octavia's hoof rest. With a body like that, she could do way better, muttered the DJ. Her tinted shades turned slightly to peek up at the grey mare. Am I right? I suppose. I haven't really been paying much attention to her body. The glasses quickly faced the screen once more. Yeah, me neither. I was just saying, like, in general or whatever. Stunning Beauty's high-pitched voice cut through any thoughts that were being formed, shrill and feminine to the extreme. "Oh, dashing! You cannot confront the real Lunazilla! I love you!" The stallion swept his mane back with one hoof. "Not to worry, my dear. I'll just—" He looked at the camera. "Flank-splode her." Both the cellist and the DJ groaned in unison before breaking out into laughter. Fortunately, the overly dramatic score drowned them out and prevented the 7 other patrons from getting bothered. When the lights finally came up and the credits rolled, the pair left their seats in good spirits. They laughed their way through the lobby and outside before calming down. "Oh, Celestia!" breathed Octavia. "That was simultaneously the best and worst movie I have ever seen." "Yeah, I hear that." The white unicorn rubbed her aching ribs. "I haven't laughed that hard in months. What shall we do now?" "What do you feel like doing?" "Maybe go for a walk?" A smile slowly spread across Vinyl's face. "Sounds good." And so the 2 mares trotted merrily away from the cinema complex and through the bright streets. Despite the length of the film, it was only early afternoon, a fact for which the DJ was grateful, because it meant more time with her new friend. Under the warmth of Celestia's charge, they wandered freely down packed streets, observing the sights and sounds of a happy day in Manhattan. A gang of colts rushed past, hooting and laughing without a care in the world. 3 old mares sat on a bench and gossiped about the other ponies around them, oblivious yet good-natured. Vendors hollered their wares as if it were a country town, only instead of tomatoes and apples they had mobile phones and movies. A cart rumbled past, pulled by an old mule. It was stacked high with flowers of every color and kind, and every time the wheels hit a bump, a couple would fall onto the road. Seeing an opportunity, Vinyl darted forward and picked up a particularly delicious-looking sunflower with her teeth. Holding it by the stem, she turned to Octavia, who was watching with amusement. "Check it!" the unicorn mumbled about her prize. "Free lunch!" "That was on the ground," giggled the cellist. "It's a flower. They grow from the ground. Want a bite?" Octavia hesitated, but decided to go along with Vinyl's playful behavior. It hadn't steered her wrong yet. Leaning closer, she opened wide and bit 2 petals off delicately, bringing them into her mouth with a smooth flick of her tongue. The stem broke suddenly, with the flower cut into 3 pieces, one of which was between the DJ's teeth. She spat it onto the floor, reddening with embarrassment. "Whoops! I guess I held it up too tightly. That's okay. It wasn't a very good one. The petals were all papery." "Well, let me buy you a drink to get that taste out of your mouth," Vinyl suggested, jerking her chin towards a small cafe as the blush faded from her cheeks. Octavia tutted. "I can pay for my own drink." After a moment of silence, her eyes widened. "Oh, but, thank you for offering. I didn't mean to sound rude." "Come on, Octavia. I'll buy you a drink." The unicorn's tone was final, but she flashed a smile to show that she wasn't serious. The pair found a comfortable table in the back, shielded from the prying eyes of the street. After a few minutes of scanning the menu, a cream-colored mare approached to take their order. "Hey, what can I get?" "Oh, dear," said Bon Bon. Sudden, intensely awkward silence expanded like a bubble around the 3 of them. As much as Vinyl wanted to break it, she let caution decide her actions for once. Instead, surprising both her and the cellist, Bon Bon was the one to look around nervously and lower her voice. "Listen, you can't tell any pony about this, okay? If Lyra and C-Top found out I'm working here, I'd never hear the end of it." Wait, work, huh?" Vinyl asked eloquently. "I just need this job to help with school. My shop is doing fine, really. The staff can take care of it while I'm here. Just please don't tell—" "Wait a minute. Wasn't your assignment to go to the movies?" Octavia considered quickly insulting the white unicorn beside her, but thought better of it. The game was compromised, but not unsalvageable. "Yes, it just finished." Be subtle, and she'll get the hint. So why are you being so chummy with each... Oh. Her eyes widened. But then that means we were right. Psyche was... What are you talking about? We hate each other. Octavia leaned toward the waitress. We hate each other, and you don't work at a cafe. Oh. Bonbon quickly diverted her gaze to the table. That's strange. I thought some pony was sitting here. Oh well. Excellent. With all thoughts of drinking forgotten, Vinyl led her friend out of the cafe, avoiding eye contact with a certain waitress the entire time. That was weird, she muttered once they reached the safety of crowds. I agree. However, I also think it went a lot better than it could have. Yeah, you really saved our flanks. I was sitting there doing nothing like a tool, whereas you went all sexy persuasion mode on her. What mode? Pardon? Octavia wasn't sure if she'd heard correctly. Super persuasion mode. It was pretty awesome. The DJ didn't seem to notice anything, continuing to walk happily onwards. Thank you, I think? Our next class might be a little odd, though. I reckon. So what do you want to do now? She hated to be the one who suggests the obvious, but it couldn't be helped. I think perhaps we should part ways for now, lest we're spotted by another classmate. Oh. Vinyl slowed to a stop, slouching slightly. Okay, that's cool. I've got a bunch of stuff to take care of anyway. Plus there's a party I'm running tunes for tonight. The cellist chuckled. Sounds like you've got your hooves full. Don't forget to study now. Psh! Studying's easy. It'll get even easier when I move into the student village. Octavia clapped a hoof to her mouth. I'd forgotten about that. So it worked out well with the scholarship ponies? Yep. She raised her head proudly. They took care of everything. Even found some pony who wants to share a dorm. Can't wait to meet him. Without pausing to think, the grey mare threw her hooves around Vinyl's neck. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Flushing considerably, the DJ awkwardly returned the hug. Well, it's just a dorm, though it will make my life way easier. Pulling away, Octavia didn't let her enthusiasm wane. Imagine if you were assigned to my dorm. I've been looking for some pony to share with for a few weeks now. Vinyl's eyebrows shot up. Wait, really? Yes! Oh, how amazing would that be? She was grinning from ear to ear at the prospect. Yeah, pretty damn amazing. Listen, I should really get going. All that stuff I mentioned isn't going to do itself. Sorry, I'm holding you up. So I'll see you soon? I'll call you tonight at the usual time. They shared a giggle. The usual time was in the early hours of the morning, when neither of them could sleep. The DJ leaned slightly closer on reflex, as did the cellist. They gave each other a surprised look and backed up. Bye. Octavia was left to her confusion as the unicorn trotted away. For a moment, an interesting possibility entered her mind. But it was fleeting, and by the time she started walking back home, it was long gone. What can I help you with, Miss Scratch? The pale mare asked pleasantly. She had a streak of grey through her mane, giving her a distinguished yet friendly appearance. Is it possible to choose which dorm I get assigned to? The unicorn replied, fidgeting with her hooves. The office reminded her of her high school principals, bringing back a multitude of guilty memories. Chuckling softly, she slid her reading glasses off and placed them on the table, leaning back into a leather chair. I get that question a lot. You want to share with a friend? Vinyl nodded, feeling a little bit embarrassed for not considering how common this request would be. But I don't want her to know we're sharing. As in, like, I want it to be a surprise. I see. And who is she? Octavia. Grey Earth Pony, studies. The mare nodded in recognition. Musical theory, history, and psychology. Yes, I remember her. We were lucky to get her here at all. Every university from Trottingham to Canterlot was vying for that little mare. Wow, really? The DJ leaned forward in surprise. You bet. She's one of the brightest young minds in Equestria. Sure, Vinyl had known that Octavia probably did really well at school, but she had no idea just how well. Her new friend, the grey mare with a gorgeous laugh and awkward friend-making skills, was way smarter than her. There was an odd mix of emotions running through her mind at that moment. Resentment, jealousy, envy, but at the core there was only pride. One of the brightest young minds in Equestria. Yeah, and also her best friend. She couldn't hold back the smile. There's a lot more to her than I first thought. The pony across from her cocked her head. You seem like a nice pony. If you're sure Octavia wants you to share her dorm, then I can probably fix it up. She does. Only, she's hoping for a wild coincidence that puts us in the same room. I'm trying something a little more practical. Smart thinking. Well, if Octavia wants it, she'll get it. Can't risk upsetting her and getting a bad report. After a moment, the mare gave Vinyl a stern look. Don't tell any pony I said that. Or that I'm helping you out. If the other students found out I let you choose your dormitory, there would be rioting in the court. The unicorn started to laugh, but faltered under the continued gaze. I'm serious. It's happened before. Swallowing nervously, Vinyl stood to shake hooves with the mare. No worries. I won't tell any pony. Thanks for helping me out. Just like that, the pony was replaced by smiles and cheers once again. Not a problem. Have a good day. A couple of moments later, and the white mare stumbled down the stairs leading away from the admin building and planted her hooves on warm grass. The main court was winding down for the day as the afternoon got later and darker. For a few moments, a light breeze rolled through, carrying the scent of sunflowers. Vinyl looked in the direction of the student village and began to whistle. And that there was Chapter 4 of Vinyl and Octavia University Days. We're going to take ourselves a quick break, have a little chat in the chat, and be right back with more. Right now, you're listening to Oatstralia on Air live on FanFiction Fridays with yours truly. The first thing we're playing is Octavia Valentine. Enjoy! You'll have to excuse me for just a few seconds. That was Octavia Valentine by Bagpipe Brony. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful piece. Although we're not quite getting ourselves back into the stories yet, what we're doing right now is watching a little something that apparently came out just this morning thanks to Hasbro Studios. This is Music to My Ears, a new short in celebration and, well, preparation for the new Equestria Girls movie, Rainbow Rocks. Have a look at it. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll put a link into the description below, and you get to see it now. Here you go.
Ya.
I figure they'll be wanting more views for that one. That was Music to My Ears in celebration and anticipation of Rainbow Rocks, the new Equestria Girls movie that was made by Hasbro Studios, who seem to be making a lot of shorts for their upcoming cartoons now. Check out their YouTube channel, which is down in the description below. For now, though, we're going to get ourselves into the next story that we have lined up for you tonight. It's Chapter 3 of Age. You know, it's really hard to put into a proper sentence of age the story title when you've got of somewhere else in the sentence. It's a little grammatical thing that I've noticed. It's a little odd. But enough about that. We've dawdled enough. I'm already late enough. It's 11 o'clock. Let's get this started. I'm going to go ahead and put this into the social stream, and once again, for you listeners at home on YouTube, this will be in the description below. Please do follow along, I do love it. I do love following along whenever I'm listening to a Let's Read of anything. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, here we go. Oh, just had a quick look in the chat. Harry, if you check out the Oatstralia On Air YouTube site, you will find, YouTube page, my bad, channel, you will find last week's show there. So you can go ahead and have a look-see after this one goes to air, I suppose is the word I'm trying to look for. Nope, just check it out when you have the time, okay? Cool beans. That goes for anyone else too who's missed any parts of these stories. Just check out Oatstralia On Air on YouTube, which you're probably doing right now if you're listening on YouTube. Check out our other stories and see what's going on. For anything additional, which will probably come up in the next month or so, head on over to Golden Microphone Presents. So let's try this again. Let's get ourselves going with Chapter 3 of Age. Rarity picked up her right front hoof, grimacing at it. Covered in mud and filth already. Why didn't I think to bring my boots? She tilted her head back, rolling her eyes skyward at her own incompetence. Just what else didn't I think to bring that I'll end up needing? The stars shimmered above her as Rarity racked her brain for any other useful items she might have forgotten. If only I wasn't on a rendezvous schedule with those guards, I could go back and get my boots. Maybe some extra bars of soap. Alas, she'd agreed to meet a segment of the Canterlot Guard on the far edge of the forest by sunup, at which point then they'd stay back and give her a day's head start. They'd trail her at a distance, looking out for her safety during the remainder of her trip. Rarity sincerely hoped they'd be as good at tracking her as Princess Celestia promised they would be, especially since she was giving up going back for boots just to meet them on time. Resigning herself to muddy hooves, Rarity walked onwards through a small clearing she'd stumbled into earlier. The ground squished uncomfortably with every step, making awful squelching noises that made Rarity wince. Hopefully those noises don't attract the attention of any of the less savory inhabitants of the forest, Rarity thought to herself, keeping her ears perked for the slightest sound of an attacker. She'd been lucky so far, and she knew it. Odds were she'd come across something unpleasant sooner rather than later, though. She'd prepared a dazzle spell as a last-minute distraction if something did come after her, but she'd rather not have to use it. Then, almost drowned out by the chirping sounds of the ever-free night, Rarity heard a scream. The unmistakable scream of a young pony. Oh no! What other pony could be in the forest right now? Her head spun around as she tried to pinpoint its direction. Help! The faint cry sounded. There. Rarity's eyes locked onto the source of the scream. A gangly creature flew through the air, its leathery wings beating rapidly. It struggled to carry it with a familiar-looking wagon and scooter, with 3 fillies dangling precariously from its claws. A cold shock crashed through Rarity. Sweetie Belle. All promises to Celestia and the Canterlot Guard were immediately forgotten. Rarity's hooves couldn't move fast enough as she chased after the beast that had her sister. Spike clambered through the thick forest, racing after the Cutie Mark Crusaders and their extremely scary-looking kidnapper. If only he'd brought some parchment and a quill, he could have written a note to Twilight to bring help. But he hadn't. And there was no way he was going to turn back to go get help and lose sight of Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo, and Applebloom in the process. He was the only one who knew where they were and what had gotten them after all. Gotta catch up! Spike's breathing was ragged, and his muscles felt like they'd been torn to shreds, but he didn't dare slow down. The forest was dark. If he lost even a moment of time, he might lose the fillies forever. He forced himself over another fallen tree, slipping slightly on the damp moss. Spike's eyes followed the creature, making a slow descent in the distance. Once it was below the tree line, Spike lost sight of it, but that didn't stop him from running in the direction it had gone. It's landing! The thought brought both relief and added panic. Landing made it easier to catch up, sure, but landing could also mean it was getting ready to make dinner out of its catch. His heart tightened in his chest. "Hold on! I'm coming!" Spike ducked under a mass of busted tree limbs, wincing as they scraped against his face. Then he had to skid to a halt as he almost ran into a dark boulder in his path. Spike ducked around the rock and continued in the direction he'd seen the beast go. Just what is that thing anyway? Spike wondered. He'd never seen anything like it. Horned head, wings like a giant bat, but a long, scaly body like a dragon who'd lost way more weight than was healthy. He had no clue what it could be, or just how quickly it may devour ponies. The sound of screams gave Spike confirmation of which way to run. He remembered just an hour earlier when it had been the sound of giggles leading him in the right direction. The difference was panic-inducing to comprehend. Yeah, well, this is what happens when you go into the Everfree Forest at night! Spike mentally chided the fillies, pushing a bunch of ferns out of his way. What were they thinking? What was Rarity thinking? She was the one to go into the forest in the first place. Spike's heart beat even faster. He hoped whatever creature he'd been chasing didn't have friends, and if it did, that none of them had Rarity. He burst through a thorn bush, brushing at his scales to knock the pokey thorns away. "Let us go!" Sweetie Belle's familiar squeak sounded. Spike looked up quickly. Just ahead of him was a pond, the moon reflecting on its calm waters. Next to it was a scene completely the opposite of calm. Scootaloo's tail was trapped under the beast's claws, but she beat at it with the two front hooves viciously. Apple Bloom was loose somehow, leaping about and doing high-flying kicks at the creature's stomach. Meanwhile, Sweetie Belle was held tight by a huge fist, struggling with all her might to break loose. "Take that, you big ugly hunk of ugly!" Apple Bloom shouted, careening into the monster's chest. "Ah!" Scootaloo punched at the reptilian arm repeatedly. "I said, let us go!" Sweetie Belle chomped her teeth down onto the hand holding her up. The creature howled in pain. They've got it annoyed, but not enough to give up on them yet, Spike realized. They were actually doing okay on their own, but they clearly still needed help. "Yeah!" Spike leapt forward out of the bushes. "Let them go!" "Spike!" Apple Bloom looked over, startled. "Spike?" Scootaloo exclaimed mid-punch. Sweetie Belle's eyes flew open, her teeth still clamped down tight on her scaly finger. Spike raced into the fray, gearing up his fire to full blast. Admittedly, full blast still wouldn't be that much, but the monster was no dragon, he was sure of that. Which meant there was a chance its scales weren't fireproof. He inhaled deeply, feeling the flames kindling inside him, and was about to exhale when the creature spoke. "Find your own food, dragon!" Its voice sounded like some pony slowly stepping on a set of bellows. Spike swallowed his fire to respond. "These ponies aren't food! They're my friends! Now let them go!" "Friends? Ha! A likely story!" The creature wheezed. The scales on its head were long and winding around its face, almost like a thin lion mane. Horns jutted out in all directions from the scales. Spike gestured down at his short stature. "Look at me! How would I be big enough to eat 3 ponies?" The monster narrowed its eyes at him, sizing him up. It took a couple of moments. Okay, so whatever it isn't the smartest of species. "Perhaps you have a point," it conceded. It looked back down at the 2 fillies in its claws. "More for me, then." "Not if I can stop you!" Apple Bloom shouted, launching another kick attack. She was immediately swatted aside. Spike winced as Apple Bloom crashed to the ground, skittering through the leaf litter. Meanwhile, the creature opened its mouth wide, reaching down towards Sweetie Belle with sharp, dripping fangs. "No!" Spike leapt forward, grabbing onto the beast's outstretched arm and swinging himself over it so he was between Sweetie Belle and the gaping maw that formed the creature's mouth. "I told you to let them go!" "Why would I do that?" the creature asked, pausing momentarily to eye Spike. Spike felt his body trembling. Because... He glanced behind him at Sweetie Belle. Her eyes shimmered, pleading. Looking down where Scootaloo lay trapped, with Apple Bloom by her side, he saw identical expressions on both of them as well. They're counting on me, he swallowed. Because ultra-intelligent creatures like us shouldn't just go and eat each other, Spike said, trying to appeal to the creature's vanity. Obviously. Meat is meat, the creature shrugged. Maybe it didn't have vanity. At least not about its brain power. Plan B. Well, if meat is meat, Spike tried next. His shaking was almost out of control, but he somehow kept a grip on the beast's arm. Then eat me first. Maybe you'll be too full to eat them then. It laughed, a wheezy, thin laugh. A gargoyle! Eat a dragon! Oh, this would be too much. Exactly, Spike exclaimed, relieved that he finally had the thing agreeing with him. A gargoyle, huh? So that's what it is. I'll fill you right up. You might as well let them go now. Spike, no! Apple Bloom yelled from below. You can't do that for us. No way, Spike. Sweetie Belle agreed. If you're going to eat Spike, you're just going to have to eat all of us, Scootaloo yelled fiercely. It would have been touching if it wasn't so stupid. Shut up, Scootaloo, Spike wanted to yell back. Didn't they see he was trying to help them? The gargoyle laughed some more. I didn't mean you'd be too much to eat. I can most certainly eat you and your pony friends, with no problem. Fine then, Spike said. He began restocking his inner fire. Prove it. You're shaking, dragon, the gargoyle mocked. You're afraid, and you're putting your courage in the wrong place. Oh well. Goodbye, my cowardly cousin. The giant mouth opened once more, reaching for Spike this time. Apple Bloom leapt up towards him, but just couldn't get high enough with a kick. Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo screamed. Just as the gooey, saliva-covered teeth reached over the top of Spike's head, Spike let out his dragon breath. Green fire filled the gargoyle's mouth.